Hi folks, with Tacitus Today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about one of a number of sort of internationally coordinated and globalist scripted propaganda campaigns that are doing the rounds of the Western world. Again, clearly coordinated and centrally scripted. The globalists are concerned that as the cost of living goes up and wages stagnate, that the purchasing power of the paycheck is being substantially eroded. You know, people have got less money. More and more people are struggling to make ends meet, and the globalists are concerned about the implications of this. So they've put together a propaganda campaign that we see in the US and all across the Western world, Britain and so on, where they say, well, look, really, you're actually better off than you were before. And if you can't see that, then aren't you a Dumbo? Aren't you a silly sausage? Because really, you're better off, or certainly no worse than you were before, and that's how much we're looking after you. And anyone that says otherwise is fucking Hitler. So let's just have a look at this. Now, the convoluted mathematics that they're using to arrive at these patently absurd and ridiculous conclusions, they must be assuming either people are stupid, and they do assume that, or they don't have the time to check or do the research themselves. Now, it doesn't take long. Again, you can research most of these lies in a few minutes, 10 minutes tops, maybe a little bit longer if you want to really drill down into the detail, but I know what to look for and how to look for it, so maybe it wouldn't take me as long as someone else. But anyway, so here's effectively what they do, and they use this same sort of weird mathematics to say calculate inflation and so on. So one of the things they say is that, look, or one of the calculation processes they use, which are rubbery to say the least anyway, is, look, when the price of energy goes up, people drive their car less, or they've got their heater or air conditioning on for less time. So really, even though the price of energy's gone up, the households aren't spending anymore because they changed their behavior. And so if the price of beef goes up, people will start buying pork or lamb. So really the inflationary effect and the reduction in purchasing power to effect on the paycheck is zero, because people just change their behavior. And because they change behavior, that means the purchasing power of the paychecks stayed the same or even improved. Because if someone spent, for example, spending $100 a week on driving their car around, and the price of energy goes up, and they may say, well, I won't drive the car at all, or I'll drive it half the amount of time. Or so they're arguing that people change their behavior and their purchasing patterns and decisions of where they're going to spend money, and therefore it's not inflation. So really, the purchasing power of the paycheck isn't going down at all. There isn't less purchasing power because there are price increases, because everyone changes their behavior. Now, that's patently absurd. Some people can change their behavior or choose to, but if someone's using, I don't know, medical equipment in the house, and then they maybe can't reduce their energy bill. If you've got to drive to work because the public transport links are so piss poor, then you still have to spend that amount of money on driving your car. Or maybe you're already buying the cheapest cuts of meat. So if that cheap cut of meat goes up in price, then you've got nowhere else to go. There's nothing else that's cheaper anyway. So you do have that effect. Or if rents go up, you still got to pay rent. And if the staples of things go up, bread and milk and just the real base level staples go up in price, then you still have to spend that money. Now, bread and milk have gone up by 50% in the last 18 months to 2 years, all because of these, COVID and supply chain and this sort of thing. The cost of doing business hasn't gone up, or maybe as a result of energy costs it might have, but not to the extent that the prices have gone up. So it's pure profit protection, and these businesses that are doing are all all the milk products, smaller suppliers and manufacturers and producers and whatever, all went up at the same time by the same amount. So it's clearly not market forces operating, because different companies have different cost structures. Some are close to market, some are close to production, some and so on, but they all go up uniformly. The same with bread suppliers. They all go up uniformly. It just doesn't happen in a market economy. So clearly it's very controlled, centrally controlled pricing structure here. Nothing to do with market forces at all. Now, just having a look at the claims here that the purchasing power of the paycheck actually hasn't gone down. That is such a grotesque untruth that it just simply has to be challenged. I've looked at the media articles around, and I haven't seen any, certainly not from the mainstream media, that challenge the notion or question it or suggest it's a load of nonsense, which it is. There's a couple of the online doing the social media out off their kitchen table type commentators. They've commented and commented quite accurately. But there hasn't been anything from the mainstream media, certainly not that I've seen so far. So when we look at the increase in the price of rent or the cost of rent, mortgages because of interest rate increases, energy increases, all of it, and you look at sort of the proportion of the weekly paycheck that someone would spend on these things, and we're looking that for someone on the average wage, rent is, it's past 50% of the paycheck now, even for modest accommodations. So if someone's, using round numbers again, if someone's taking home $100 a week after they've paid tax and Social Security and the like, then they're spending between $50 and $60 on rent, and that's no fancy place. So now, could they go to a cheaper place if they went further out from they went 2 hours, 2.5 hours drive or travel from the city centre? Could they save on rent? Well, sure they could. If they went into, say, share accommodation, they went into a 5-bedroom house and shared with 4 other people or 4 other couples, could they decrease their rent? Sure they could. But assuming some sort of independent living and your own place, then that's the sort of a price that you'd have to pay. Then you look at the cost of energy, which is electricity, running your car, that sort of thing. The amount of even people that are living, very, very high. I think certainly, well, I wouldn't say austere, but certainly modest lifestyles. They're you look at their energy consumption, and it's still going to be a good 15% of the paycheck to spend that money. You look at then food, which has gone up very substantially in price. You're looking at 45% across the board really now. So if you were spending $100 on groceries before all the COVID type price rises, then you're now spending $145 with not a lot of latitude to change. Again, if you were already buying the lowest price cuts of meat, chicken or something like that, then you would find that you don't have a whole lot of latitude for reducing the price. So really, the idea that the paycheck hasn't been torn to pieces, my sort of estimate of the last 2 years, the paycheck's been hammered by at least 25%, if not 35%. There is a little bit of rubber there again. If you come back to their argument of, well, you change your behaviour and therefore you spend less, therefore your paycheck has the same purchasing power, that's nonsense, because standard of living and quality of life are issues. I know that I can save money if I shiver my ass off in a cold house during winter. I already know that. Do I want to shiver my ass? That sort of thing. So really, quality of life becomes an issue, and the quality of life is something that's not factored in. I know I can save money driving to work. Well, I don't actually drive to work, but driving to work. But if I just walk that 10 kilometres or 20 kilometres, of course I can save money. So there are those sort of ridiculous things that. Now, on the matter of changing behaviour, we looked at this when the prices start going up, and well, they didn't really affect us because we could absorb the price rises, so it didn't really matter. But to us, but we had this view of, well, why should we pay extra when we know that we're just getting screwed? And the idea was that why should we pay that money just for the privilege of being screwed? So that was the sort of the mindset that we didn't necessarily apply, but considered. And so the cost of, say, the prime cuts of steak or beef that we used to eat, they're around $35 plus a pound, or circa $70 a kilo for the prime cuts of beef. You get in the grocery store, the supermarket, and they've gone up like a lot in the last few years. So we thought, no, we don't want to pay that. So we switched to, well, cheaper cuts of meat, but we also did the legwork to find a meat wholesaler, which turned out wasn't that far away. And on a certain day of the week, they do the hot pricing. You lack you don't have the convenience because you can't just go to the store and buy what you want whenever you want. You have to wait until that appointed day and time window when the day arrives. But so we end up buying our meat there and saving a ton of money. And the purpose of it is to avoid, why should we pay the higher prices just because the globalists have artificially engineered all these price rises to squeeze us? Why should we do that? Why do we need to pay it? And so we, because of the Green New Deal and all these sorts of things, they're being forced on us. None of this is natural market forces. None of it at all. And so we objected to paying extra because it's being imposed on us without market forces. We go, okay, fine. Well, that's kind of, but this is not market forces. So we changed our behaviour. Things like, say, the difference in the heating. Now we've got quite a big heater, and it heats pretty much the whole house after about an hour. So and so we did the mathematics on running it over winter, and it was and winter where we are, it goes for about 20 weeks out of the year. So we had a look at the cost of running that, and it was $2,500, and this was running at 4 hours in the morning, a break during the midday when it tends to warm up a bit, then another 4 hours at evening before we turn in for the night. So just on that basis, approximately 8 hours, give or take, a day running the heating, and then we looked at changing that. So all right, then we'll put the heater on for, say, for example, an hour and a half in the morning, and the same at night. About an hour, I guess, each side, or probably an hour and a half in the morning, an hour at night. But that substantially changed. So instead of $2,500 in extra energy cost for keeping warm over winter, we can reduce that to $400, say. So, but that feeds back into the mathematics thing. We've changed our behaviour to save the money. Now, the downside of that is that we have to put on an extra layer of clothing, like wear a jumper or something like that. That's not a big deal. We don't mind doing it, and it means that we're not paying the higher prices. And that's a quality of life trade-off that we don't kind of really care about. Is it nice to walk around in shorts and t-shirts or something all day in the house? Sure, it's nice. Wow. And that's a quality of life thing. But given that we now have to pay so dearly for it, will change. But the issues for the essentials of life, which are food, energy, and housing, and for many people, transport, all of those things that you must pay for, you cannot avoid it. The latitude for reducing price or reducing the cost in there is very slim. It's very narrow. There's not much. You can't just not drive to work unless there are excellent transport links. You can't not eat. you're not in a position to not use energy or electricity or something, or gas, whatever, in the house. So there's a lot of things you still have to do, paying rent or whatever. There's a lot of things you have to do, and the only way to have a cheaper existence is to have a reduction or a severe reduction in the quality of life. And so those are the trade-offs that people now have to make. And it's not a quality of life as in I go out to eat at a fancy restaurant every night. Now I have to cut back to only 3 nights a week at the fancy. It's not those sort of trade-offs. It's the trade-off between being cold in your house or not being cold. It's the trade-off having your own place or having to share with people who you don't know and so on, or of being able to have your car repaired or not, and the list goes on. So these are very substantial trade-offs in the quality of life. So when they come out with these numbers and assuming this, as in the purchasing power of your paychecks the same or even better, or wages have got more purchasing power, which is utter bullshit, by the way. Then if you look at the methodologies they're using or pretending to use, it means you either have a very substantial reduction in the quality of life, or you have to be making more money, get extra jobs or something like that. But the purchasing power of the paycheck on the essentials of life has gone down massively, and they pretend it's otherwise, which is again a grotesque untruth. You've been with Tastus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.